Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to productionize a machine learning model using something called Flask. Alright, so first what I'm going to show you is I'm going to build just a very simple model to use in my demonstration. I'm going to use the iris dataset, which is built in, and we've used this before, but just a reminder in case you don't remember, the iris dataset has 4 variables, and here they are, and 3 classes that we care to predict. And this is going to be represented in the data as class 1, class 2, class 3. So this is a multi-class classifier. This is kind of a famous data set. It's built right into Python, and you can see that I can just load it like this. I'm going to do a test train split. I'm going to throw a random forest classifier at it. And then we'll train the random forest classifier, and we see that we have a decent model here. We have our 3 classes, 0, 1, 2, strong precision, strong recall, good accuracy. This is a pretty good model. Alright, so you've seen all this before. This isn't news. So let's go on to see some new stuff. Alright, the first thing I want to show you is how pickling works. And pickling is what we call serialization in Python. And so what a pickle is it takes an object and it writes that object to disk. And then you can go and unpickle it later and pull that off of disk and change it back into an object in memory. Why you'd want to do this? Well, if you've trained a random forest or some machine learning model and you want to use it in the future, you don't necessarily want to have to train it every time that you want to use it. So what this lets you do is it lets you train it once, and then you can use it off of disk and you can save it and open it many, many times. Makes sense. Okay, so let's look at this real quick. It's very straightforward. If you remember above, I called my random forest classifier RFC. So here, what I'm doing is I'm calling pickle.dump RFC, the object I want to save, and then here's a file. So I'm going to write it into the file iris_rfc.pkl. This can be whatever you want. .pkl is just the extension I like to use. And then, if you want to load that object back up off of disk, what you can do is you can use pickle.load. Pickle.load undoes pickle.dump. So here we're doing pickle.load, and then the file again. This time it's a read instead of a write. And then we're assigning it to a new variable, my random forest. And so you can see here that if I were to just type my random forest, the output is the description of the classifier. It should match this. And just to prove to you that it is the same, I run classification report on it, and you see that I get the exact same score on the exact same data. So this is the same object, and we've just loaded it to disk and then taken it back up off of disk. Alright, so let me show you a real-life application of why you would care to do this. This isn't, for the first time in the class, this isn't a IPython notebook. Rather, this is just straight Python. And what this Python does is it's going to use a couple of things. It's going to use something called Flask, and it's going to use pickle. And what we're going to do is we're going to load our random forest off of disk. And then this code here is going to use Flask. And what Flask is going to do is it's going to create a web service for us. And it's going to create that web service running on port 9000. And it's going to answer post requests on the address of my machine /API. And that's what this decorator does. Now, if you aren't familiar at all with what REST is or what a web service is, that's okay. This lecture probably isn't for you. But if you know what those things are, you probably are very interested in how you can use a random forest in this way. So I'm going to continue on, assuming that you do know, and if you don't, that's okay. There's no test. This isn't part of your grade. All right. So you can see I have this decorator, and now this decorator is going to be wrapped around makePredict, which is a function that I created. And what happens is I'm going to get the JSON sent from the post, and that's going to be that's going to come back to me as data. And to get that, I'm going to use request.getJSON. Request is part of Flask. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those four variables. These are going to be the, if you remember, my random forest needs 4 variables to make a prediction. I'm expecting JSON that has the titles SL, SW, PL, and PW. And that's going to come back into predict_request. I'm going to cast that to a NumPy array because I need that line to be a NumPy array so my random forest can work on it. I'll make a prediction based on that single row NumPy array. I'll assign output to be equal to the first element in this list of predictions, which there's only ever going to be one, so that's cool. If we were going to make multiple predictions at once, your mileage may vary here. You'll know what to do then. All right, and then I'll return JSONify on my list. And what JSONify does is it takes a list and it converts it, a list of dictionaries rather, and converts it to JSON. Okay, there's quite a bit there, but you can really just follow this same idea to implement your own REST API. So be sure to just clone my Git repo, and you can work with this as a starter if you ever care to do this. Okay, so let's see this in production. I'm going to open up a terminal here, and I'll launch my code. All right, and you can see that my REST API is running. So I'm going to pop back over to my notebook here. And I have a little bit of Python here set up. And this uses a Python module called requests. And requests is a really simple way to make a JSON call. And so you can see I'm going to call the URL localhost :9000/API. The data I'm going to post is this, where I'm going to say SL is equal to this, SW is equal to this, so on and so forth. So I'm going to ask for, what I'm asking is the random forest web service. I want to say, here's a flower that I've found. I want you to come back and tell me what class it belongs to. I'm going to post that, and then I'll just print the JSON that I get as a response. And if everything goes right, hooray, it works. Our random forest web service made a prediction, and the prediction is 1. Here it is. All right, so this same idea can be applied in a lot of different scenarios. We do this quite a bit where I work. So what this lets us do is lets us take a model that we created in Python. It doesn't have to even be a machine learning model. It can be any predictive model. And once we get it working where we want in our laboratory, right, our IPython notebook laboratory, once we've created it the way we want it to work, we can pickle it and then create a REST service for it using Flask, like I had shown you here. And then once we do that, we can run that REST service and make predictions in real time. Maybe those can be for things like, is a customer going to be happy with their purchase, or will someone buy something, or anything that you can imagine predicting. You could make a prediction in real time using a REST API. All right, thanks for listening. I hope this was interesting. Send me feedback if you have any questions. Thanks, bye.